working all right? Is it working now? Can you guys hear me okay? I think you guys can hear me okay. So appreciate that, Alec, for thank you bringing that up. I thought everything was hooked up, but I guess not. That's what happens when you transport all your stuff over and then forget to set it up until very last minute, guys. So that's what we got here today. But listen, thank you for kicking off Super Sentai Monday here with us, guys. I really do appreciate it. We're getting the opportunity here to kind of jump into episode number 18. This really is sort of a build-up episode that we kind of felt was happening last week, and the payoff here certainly did its part, to say the least. It is one of those things where the reason why I love this episode, I mean, we get to see further connections between brother and sister in here. We continue to see just the relation or the connection between Juro along with King Oridon. Just some really fantastic stuff, especially building on top of the sort of Crystallian lore that we've come to kind of see so far. So anytime that they can add a little bit more world building and a little bit more history lessons for the planet of Crystallia, I'm always there for it, to be honest with you. So definitely enjoyed this week's episode. A little bit bummed that we didn't get ourselves sort of an evil ranger that's going to last a little bit longer than one episode. But I thought, honestly, considering the fact that we only did it for one episode, I thought they utilized it relatively well here this week. So thank you very much, everybody, for certainly joining us. Again, these are just going to be my A+ opinions. As always, we definitely want to know yours. So definitely let me know your thoughts about this particular week's episode in the comment section box below, ladies and gentlemen. So getting into this week's episode, we're kind of hearkening back to really what was said to us last week. The idea that Takamichi, now having the Grantor Stone in his possession, is really trying to find all the Grantor Stones in order to go ahead and make one wish to go ahead and hopefully get rid of the curse that he feels is over Mabushina at this particular point in time. I do want to make a note here that nobody has confirmed that this curse is actually a real thing. This is pretty much just Takamichi just sort of under the assumption that Mabushina has a curse on her, and just the idea of dropping that tidbit of information now has our Kiramagers just being overly protective of her. I mean, we start this episode off with Mabushina literally using a stepladder to try and reach something, and everybody starts overreacting, right? Shiguru comes in and is like, no, if it's too tall, I'll get it for you, right? We got Seiyo over here trying to offer her some herbal tea and stuff. I mean, everybody's just trying to do every little bit of thing for Mabushina, even though she's certainly more than capable of doing it herself. And you can clearly see just the amount of frustration that sort of comes with it for Mabushina, realizing that everybody's starting to act a little bit differently around her. People are starting to lie. She's kind of getting a little bit frustrated with her brother and his fixation on getting treasures and things like that, right? Really feeling as though he's kind of just doing this for himself, and now everybody's sort of treating her a little bit differently. So you can clearly see just the frustrations that's starting to mount here when it comes to Mabushina, but nobody wants to tell her exactly why they've become so overprotective. I love the fact that Shiguru also calls out Juro in this episode for just his lack of being able to hold on to a secret and at least act like nothing's wrong, right? To the point to where the crew is just like, you know what? Get Juro out of here. He's really messing it up for everybody. He's really going to spill the beans if he hangs around long enough. So they managed to go ahead and kick Juro out, which I thought was hilarious. But what was even more funny to me was the fact that when Juro comes back, Takamichi's there and he's like, oh, you were hiding too? Because of the fact that he couldn't be around there to keep a secret away from his sister that he also had to kind of get out of there as well. So you clearly get to see that when it comes to Juro and Takamichi, they really can't sort of keep secrets from themselves, keep secrets to themselves, if you will. So I thought it was a really interesting sort of take on to open up this episode here, really seeing everybody acting this way towards Mabushina, when at the end of the day, we don't even know if this curse is a real thing, or at least if it's something that's going to continue to pass down through lineage, right? It's just really based off of assumption here. We do get a tale finally as to what's going on here. Takamichi kind of explains that King Oridon was taking down one of the Jotunheim witches. I think he said it was the Witch of the Stagnant Sea. And in the process of taking down that Jotunheim witch, the witch wind up cursing him. But the curse that is on King Oridon didn't specifically harm him, but it harmed his queen, his wife. What happened? I think she said that like within 7 days, it wind up turning her not only into stone, but then she wind up crumbling into dust. And so Takamichi now has this fear that this curse, even though King Orden in his eyes is dead or gone, he still feels that this curse could still be on his family, that it might have moved over to Mabushina as well. He does mention the idea of like there being a mark that shows up on her, but I don't believe we've ever seen that mark on Mabushina yet, or at least it hasn't revealed itself, to be honest with you. But for some reason, I just get this vibe that because of the fact that they're pushing the idea that Mabushina has a curse placed on her, I'm almost feeling like she doesn't have a curse placed on her, and that Takamichi at the end of the day is kind of just doing this to kind of protect himself and protect his sister through all of that, which is, listen, I can't take anything away from Takamichi. I mean, you want to talk about wanting to protect your own family member, you know, I think that's courageous. I think that's really important. So I get the idea of why he's doing it, but again, understand that this is all based off of assumption, and nobody really knows whether or not Mabushina is cursed at the end of the day. But in the process of discovering all this and talking about it, Takamichi winds up feeling some pain once again. This kind of takes us back to the battle that we had between Takamichi along with Garza last week. The fact that Garza hit him with the blast and then kind of ran off, sort of thing. We said that, listen, this is going to be part of his plan. You know, that attack that he had on Takamichi is going to kind of come back for him. And it certainly does here in this week's episode. I mean, we get the idea here of seeing that the blast that he did was hit Taka with a wave of like I can never pronounce this thing smoothly. Calamentality, like calamity, but a mixture of Kiramentality, so Calamentality, Calamentality, I guess you could say. But the key here for Garza hitting him with this is that he wants to sort of not only awaken, but empower the Mon Stone that's still inside of Taka. So now this Mon Stone gets hit with a huge wave of Calamentality, yeah, and dark energy, to where now it frees him of sort of this silver Karame Stone prison that the Mon Stone was in, and winds up engulfing Takamichi. So now the Mon Stone, with all this dark energy, is now controlling Takamichi, and this is how we wind up getting ourselves this guy right here in the sweet slick outfit, man, with the big old red eyes, if you will. I really love just this transformation, the fact that his Karame changer turns to a Yodan changer, the fact that even like when he activates it to Henshin, it winds up saying wrapped in black. Chilling as can be. The theme, the tone just completely changes when he transforms. I think it's an absolutely beautiful and really just dark sort of transformation to really show this other side of Takamichi. And I thought they pulled it off perfectly. And now we see here that Garza has himself a little bit of a sidekick, if you will, a little bit of an assassin, somebody that he can kind of control and have his way with. And it turns out to have some amazing battle sequences in here, to say the least. Yeah, they really went all out when it comes to some of these battles. But the one thing that I loved about this, though, is that we still get to see that struggle for Takamichi, that Takamichi hasn't gone full dark here. He is still trying to fight against sort of this Mon Stone's control. There's some really great moments in here where he tries to sort of break through and reach out to Juro to protect not only his sister, but also to continue to search for the grander stones also, right? Like, even despite the situation that he's in, he's still thinking of his sister first and the mission at the end of the day. So I really love that. And for me, this episode just really had a huge sort of emotional tug and emotional pull at times, especially when it came to the idea of Takamichi trying to get out of sort of this mindset that he was in, to still try and communicate with his friends, to still try and hold himself back so he's not harming everybody. So I really love just the back and forth that we had here for Taka who was trying to go ahead and fight against this Mondstone dark energy, but unfortunately not able to until we have the help from Juro here. Which listen, I love what we wind up getting here from Juro also this week. The fact that he fights off Garza along with Takamichi, we see that the blast winds up making him really unconscious, and we wind up getting ourselves another meeting here between King Orden and Juro. Rather brief, but really the gist of this meeting that we wind up seeing here is that King Orden is pretty much just giving Juro the okay in the sense of, hey, whatever you have planned, whatever you're thinking, full steam ahead, my friend. Right? Like if you keep pushing and doing what you're doing, whatever your mindset is, it's shining, and just continue to just do whatever it is that you're doing. So he really sort of gives him that okay to just really whatever plan that he's got inside of his head. If you think that's the right direction to go, let's see certainly where it takes us. And Juro does exactly that here in this week's episode. You know, the one thing that I do love about this, especially the Grantor Stones, I love that they really are sort of becoming the MacGuffin of this series. The four important articles or pieces of treasure that sort of needs to be found in order to kind of commemorate this one wish that they certainly need, right? I believe it's Moryu who winds up breaking down not only from their carrot technology and information that they already have in base, but also like crossing it over with the King Orden journal to learn a little bit more about these Grantor Stones. So I'm glad that we're getting to learn a little bit more about them in here. The fact that, yes, there are four, you still need to collect all of them. But what we do come to find out, and we come to find this out the hard way here, is that each particular Grantor Stone still has its own abilities. I think they call this particular Grantor Stone the Dystoria, where its power lies in the ability to cause destruction, to destruct whatever it is that you certainly wish for it to. So I love the fact that it has its own sort of ability just in itself, by itself, right? That you can still utilize it, and you don't have to be so dependent on the idea of having to get all these four stones together. They still have their own significant power. But I love the way that it's presented to us here in this week's episode, because while we do learn that it sort of has this dominion over destruction, we don't really know how it's utilized until Juro decides to use it for himself. And when he does use it, it's certainly a shock, especially to me as a viewer, because you're kind of already under this idea that you only have one wish, right? That the power of these Grantor Stones come with the idea of one wish. So when you see Juro use it to go ahead and wish destruction on the Mondstone that's inside Taka, I'm just thinking to myself, you blew it, man. You blew it, right? And so I'm sure everybody else in the rest of the group did too, right? Like everybody else was taken aback at the idea that Juro himself decided to go ahead and use this particular ability to go ahead and save Taka, and everybody kind of just gives Juro just that look of like disbelief, right? Like even there's some pushback from Taka also. But again, this to me just continues to show how Juro is such a fantastic leader. Not only did he get the okay from King Orden to like, hey, whatever your plan is, push through, continue to do it. I'll certainly be there to certainly support you, and let's see certainly what happens. So I love the fact that Juro does that, but make no mistake, Juro makes a decision that nobody else on this team was probably willing to make. You want to talk about having a leader that's gonna make the tough decisions to save people's lives and to make everybody happy at the end of the day? That's Juro, right? Taking this chance, because he knows that if he doesn't take this chance, the frustration of Mabushina is going to be overwhelming, because even Mabushina wanted to go ahead and try and save her brother here in this week's episode, to which everybody told her, if you do that, you're going to die, right? Like you are not strong enough to go ahead and stand up to Takamichi along with Garza. So in order to keep her from doing that, Juro has to do something. And what's the one thing that he says, right? It's almost like he's kind of in a catch-22 situation, but he understands just the torment and just what Takamichi would go through if his sister were to die, whether it be at Garza's hands or even at his own hands, heaven forbid. So I like the fact that Juro makes that tough decision. The idea that he's not only going to trust himself and King Orden, but he's going to do what he certainly can to make sure that Takamichi doesn't have to suffer another loss whatsoever. If that's a sacrifice of using this one wish that he needs to, right? Because if he doesn't use the wish, who's to say what can happen to Mabushina, right? It's either she dies at your hands or she dies by this curse, right? So either way, I got to do something. So I really appreciate what Juro did here this week. It shocked me. It definitely shocked me, and it shocked everybody else. And Juro is lucky that they come to find out at the end of the episode that yes, the stone does have other abilities, that you can use the stone individually outside of just that one particular wish. So the Grancer stone is still perfectly okay. The mission is still certainly the same, but Juro took a risk and definitely was one that was worth taking. And it paid off for him at the end of the day. I mean, who knows? It certainly could have paid off terribly for him at the end of the day also. But Juro was lucky that he had King Orden on his side, to be quite honest with you guys. But I thought the action in this episode was pretty marvelous as well, to be completely honest with you. I really love just the intensity that everybody showcased in here. I mean, the battle that we wind up getting to see immediately as well between these two, I thought was just really pivotal. This body slam between Juro and Takamichi I thought was great, and just some of the special effects and the sequences that we get also I thought were rather marvelous, to be quite honest with you. So I thought they did a really good job of just really connecting not only all the pieces, but allowing the emotion to still certainly be there. I mean, for me, the takeaway was just the continued building of the relationship between Takamichi and his sister Mabushina, right? Like just some of the great and comforting words that they wind up giving towards each other at the end of this episode. You know, Mabushina or Ataka saying that, you know, the one treasure and the one thing that makes him happy in this world that he wants to continue to protect is Mabushina and her smile. And I love that, even though you do see that they haven't got necessarily on the same page, and that Mabushina has kind of been worried that Takamichi's kind of changed over the years, you can still see that there are clear elements from their past that are still the same. They still clearly care about each other, even though they may not necessarily know how to show it like they certainly used to when they were younger. But I really loved it. I thought Juro really stepped up, showcased why he certainly was the leader for this group, taking a chance, taking a risk, and believing in himself. And again, it goes to further make that connection between him along with King Orden. And I'm glad it's something also that Takamichi winds up seeing, because even though we already know that Taka trusts these guys, right? I mean, he's putting himself out there finally and making those connections with this team and understanding he doesn't have to do everything alone. I do love that he's at least getting that continued affirmation and confirmation that he's doing the right thing and trusting Juro, that Juro is taking his advice from his father. And I think, you know, if you see that, especially when you're making those connections between Juro and your father, you got to put some trust in that guy, especially if you think that your father's kind of speaking to you through this guy, right? There's got to be something really special about Juro, and I love that Takamichi winds up taking notice in here. So yeah, the brother and sister relationship going really strong in here. The leadership skills from Juro, the continued lore building here for what happened with the queen. Finally, that's one of the biggest questions that we certainly had going into this, along with some extra lore for the planet Crystallia stuff, and just the emotional pull and tug that we wind up getting here from Takamichi. You know, I will say this too, when it comes to the Zord battle, it was really great to see the Gigant Driller being utilized well in here. We get to see the return of the King Express. Anytime the King Express returns, I absolutely love it, because it just means that a smog jokey or whatever the smog steamer or train, whatever it is going to be controlled. And anytime I get to see Garza complaining that he can't control his own freaking Zord, I absolutely love it. Like, for me, I just keep thinking to myself, like, Garza, when are you going to realize that you cannot go into battle with that Zord. Like, it's just not going to turn out well for you. I'm hoping that you're working on another Zord behind the scenes that's not going to be hijacked by some millennials for you, because these teenagers are just driving you absolutely crazy. And I get a kick out of it each and every time, quite honestly. So yeah, we had our hands full with Zords this week. We had the King Express, the Gigant Driller, along with the Karamazin in here. And we also wind up getting ourselves a brand new formation for the Gigant Driller. I think it was the Gigant Driller Giga Stack special, I believe it is, where the Gigant Driller teams up with the Chevello Core. Not really the biggest fan of that design, to be honest with you. It just feels like they just took parts and they were like, let's just put this here, let's put this here, let's put this other one here. Like, it just did not feel very cohesive to me as a Zord. So not my most impressive design, but just kind of cool to see that there's yet another combination that the Gigant Driller can certainly utilize. And it makes sense that if he's going to go ahead and continue to form with anybody, that is the Chevello Core as well. So I enjoyed it for the most part, but I definitely want to know what you guys think in regards to this episode. Did this episode certainly live up to the hype? I guess for me, if there was any downside to it that I would have liked to have seen, it's really just the idea of this dark Caramay silver lasting a little bit longer than what we got here. So I'm kind of hoping that maybe there are some remnants of this dark energy that's still within inside of him. We do know that Garza's been trying to get Taka on his side for quite some time, but I'm kind of feeling like they've probably already wrapped up the storyline, if you will, in regards to at least that dark energy inside of Taka. But again, guys, these are just my A+ opinions. At the end of the day, I definitely want to know yours, though. So please let me know your thoughts about this week's episode in the comment section box below. But yeah, overall, I really enjoyed this week's episode. I thought it was pretty top notch. Let's see here what you guys are saying in here. Who else winds up joining us? P-Lip, what's up, P-Lip? Thank you very much for making your presence known today. Thank you very much. Yeah, sorry about the no volume at the beginning of the episode, guys. Again, I was at my girlfriend's house this past weekend, if you guys recall, from A+ Morphinominal and Hero Report. And today was like the first day that I set my laptop and camera and mic and stuff back up. So, you would think that your computer would recognize everything, but sadly, no. Sadly, no. Matthew does say, I really love this episode, like last week. Yeah, I think if you look at it sort of like as a two-parter, it probably works out really well, to be honest with you. Matthew says Shiguru should give acting lessons to Juro and Taka. For real, man, for real. Because sometimes you need to keep those secrets. Although, when it comes to things like this, I'm just not a fan of keeping secrets on television shows. Because it's just one of those things, like, you just know how much more convenient and easier life would be if you would just tell them, like, hey, Mabushina, we think you might have a curse on you, so we just want to protect you. I think she would handle that okay, instead of just treating her like some infant, like she can't do anything on her own anymore. But then where would the drama be, right? I get the idea of writing wise why you don't tell everybody everything, because you need that drama, that intensity, those question marks, right? How are they going to find things out, right? But life would just be so much easier. It really would. Matthew says, yeah, we finally start to learn a little bit about the Queen. Yeah, I'm expecting to see a little bit more of her pop back up in here, honestly. It was a very brief sort of appearance by the Queen in here, but we at least get to see how she fits into things just a little bit more, at least when it comes to the curse wise. But I definitely want to see her explored a little bit more prior to her being cursed, if you will. Or who knows, maybe they focus on the idea of like those 7-day periods for her, the idea of her being encased in stone, or the idea of it taking 7 days to get to that point of her turning into stone. I really would love to see that. Alex says, I just think it's super convenient that everyone thinks it's connected to the Queen and the brother is evil. I think it's super convenient that everyone thinks it's connected to the Queen. I'm just going based off of what they said, that it was connected to the Queen, because I don't know what you mean by that. I think it's just super convenient that everyone thinks it's connected to the Queen and the brother is evil. I don't think they believe that it was Garza that put the curse onto her. I mean, he specifically in the story talks about the idea that the curse came from Jotunheim's witch that put it on the king and it passed to the queen. So it doesn't look like Garza was involved in that at all, at least from what we can tell. From what we can tell. What's up, L'Oreal? Appreciate you coming through. Thank you very much. L'Oreal says she feels super bad about what happened to Mabushina's mom. Yeah, like for me, it even puts more emphasis on last week's episode where we see her still having her mom's crown and opening up the box and still kind of sharing that moment a little bit with her. Like I really would love to see, like they've done a really great job in regards to flashbacks and filling in some gaps to give you further information about their past. So I would love to see more stuff. You know, I've already said I'd love to see more stuff with the queen, but the idea of seeing that relationship between the queen and Mabushina, that's definitely something I would want to see, especially considering the fact that she covets that that tiara or that crown really close to her, you know. L'Oreal says what Juro did to save Takamichi's life was awesome. Totally would kiss Juro on the cheek for that one. And then you also say, I so wish that to see Orden alive. Drew has a serious connections with him, and and I'm wondering if he has these connections with him because the king is still alive, right? I feel like a majority of us are kind of still under that impression that Orden is alive. I mean, maybe I could be wrong, but I feel like if his connection is that strong, that there's something still alive, whether it's his body, whether it's not, whether it's just his spirit that's out there as part of this vessel that's kind of communicating with Juro, who certainly knows. But I definitely hope that Orden is alive too, because I really would like to see a live Orden and a live Juro make it through this season to where they actually have some sort of confrontation or at least talk amongst themselves. But going back to what you said, L'Oreal, yeah, I honestly think that what he did with Taka and saving Takamichi was awesome. Risky as can be, right? Because as a viewer, we don't know that that's how the Granter Stone works until it's really revealed to us at the end. So when he's using that, I'm thinking to myself, oh, Taka's going to be pissed. Like, I can't believe he's using this wish to go ahead and save him. I guess they're going to have to figure something else out. But leave it up to Juro and his connection to Orden to let him know that whatever he was doing was certainly going to work and be fine at the end of the day. He just had to sort of commit and believe in himself. And so I thought that moment was just breathtaking to watch. The idea of him saving his life and really his own reasoning too. The idea like, hey, if I didn't do this, man, your sister would be dead. And then you realizing that would just make you even more heartbroken, right? So I did what I certainly had to do to save lives and to hopefully keep you from suffering any longer than you probably would have, right? It's either she died by your hands or she dies by this curse, if you will, right? So I'm trying to save her life so that you can continue to be happy. So I again, Juro just has this unselfishness about him that works so fantastically well as a leader. And yeah, I thought it was a beautiful moment for him for what he wound up doing for Taka. Oh, we got Lion in the house. What's up, Lion? Appreciate you coming through. Matthew says, really glad to see Crystalia siblings get closer. Yeah, and I feel like they continue to build that throughout this season. I really do feel that way. She says, L'Oreal says, I love how I get to hear Mabushina's giggling noise when she laughs again. Yeah, that little hint of the little jingle and things like that whenever they laugh. I think it is a fantastic touch, honestly. And so anytime I hear it now, you know exactly what that was. Because I think when we first started hearing it, maybe in the first couple of episodes, I was like, what are they doing? And then they clarified it for us that that's them laughing. So now you absolutely know what's going on every time you hear that little jingle of theirs. But yeah, I think for me, that's a really powerful just a relationship that those two characters have. The fact that they're not even blood relatives, but they've kind of grown up that way, if you will. Mabushina growing up with Taka and Taka always being there sort of as her big brother. And I love just the idea of just all these years apart. Clearly, they're going to be two completely different people kind of struggling to find their ways back to each other or to find those sibling moments that they loved so much. I love seeing the journey for these two because you can clearly tell how much they really do care about each other, even though sometimes Taka's actions, according to Mabushina, can come across a little bit selfish. Alex says there's still drama because now she'll be like, why didn't you tell me before? And she'll run away. I guess this is true, right? I mean, I guess the idea, like, hey, even if we did tell her the truth, I'm pretty sure there is some other levels of drama that still certainly needs to unfold, right? The idea of why didn't you tell me sooner? Running off type of thing, and to be by herself. Or so you're probably right, Alec. They probably could certainly build off a drama like that, but yeah, because I just feel like life would just be so much easier. Like, I just feel it would be maybe less drama. You know what I mean? But you're absolutely right. I think you could probably still make drama out of any of those situations. Let me see. L'Oreal says the moments Juro had this week and last week were more phenomenal. His imagination powers with the stones are wicked. We should make them into weapons again. Plus, it was cool to kind of see the queen. Yeah. So while he didn't make a weapon this week, we did get a sense of his sparkleization, as we usually do every couple of episodes here. So while we didn't see him doing his yahoo, woohoo, sounding like Mario and stuff every time he draws, like this time, Chevello like already knew what he was capable of doing or what he was up for. I mean, who knows? Maybe he drew it beforehand before they got into their Zords, because you did at least get to see the picture up there. But Chevello was just like, yeah, I kind of have an idea of what he wants to do. So we did wind up getting a brand new mech design based off of Juro's imagination in here. Not his favorite work, not my favorite work by Juro, to be honest with you, though. But yeah, definitely like L'Oreal said in regards to the weapons, Matthew definitely agrees. He says, yeah, I still really want to see more stone weapons, because the hammer from last week was legit, man. I was a really big fan of that use. So hopefully, now that Juro's created that for Tomitomo, maybe he's able to use that and battle a little bit forward. So we'll definitely see. Oh, and in regards to what Alex said, that there's more evil secrets about the royal family. Yeah, if there is anything, I definitely feel as though there are definitely a lot more secrets to certainly be revealed here. I don't know exactly what Garza's sitting on in regards to like what other bits of information he certainly might have. But yeah, I don't think this is definitely not the last. I feel like when it comes to secrets or intel about this royal family, because for me, that's really what drives just sort of the drama in here, is this the fact that this is a very personal sort of family issue that our Kiramagers sort of find themselves in and are trying to help navigate everybody through. So yeah, anytime that you have a personal family relationship, I cannot wait to see how it winds up unfolding. L'Oreal says, Adam, what's your favorite part of the episode? For me, oh, that's a tough one because I really enjoyed a couple aspects of this. To go broader strokes, the emotion of this episode really did it for me. And the only reason why I said this because I felt like the emotion was in a little bit of everything, from the Takamichis trying to struggle, from the brother and sister sort of relationship stuff. That was a ton of great emotional heartstring pulls. But you know what? If I had to just put it down to a particular moment, it's probably Juro saving Takamichi. Because I think as a viewer, when you watch it at that moment, before you really understand what the stones are fully capable of, you go into that moment thinking that there's only one wish, that this stone can only be utilized in one sort of way, right? I mean, even when Moryu sort of breaks it down in the beginning and calls it, the Grantor Stone Dystoria, and he says, it has a dominion over destruction. I don't really think that, like, my mindset wasn't, oh, so it's got the power of destruction. I always just felt like it was an element that was utilized when you wind up bringing all four of them together in order to create that particular one wish. So when you see Juro using it, I'm thinking to myself, oh, so he's using the destruction power on it, but he's literally using up his wish. And well, like, because when he talks about it, I think he says, I can't remember if he uses the word wish or he like talks to the stone to get it to do what he's doing. And I'm thinking to myself, there's that one wish, man. There's that one wish. But to me, it was such a ballsy move, and it was just another, I don't know. It was just again, it was just another way to showcase that Juru really has everybody's sort of best intentions in mind. That when it comes to the idea of needing to make a tough decision that nobody else probably would be willing to make, the fact that Juru steps up to make that decision, I think speaks volumes. And for me, his growth for the first 18 episodes from where we first saw him in the first couple of episodes, right? Everybody trying to help train him or push him to kind of be a better leader. I think he's grabbed that ball and run with it. I mean, granted, he's not great in every situation, right? We can clearly see the bashfulness, the shyness, the inability to kind of keep secrets sort of thing, right? But when it matters, Juru is always able to kind of step up. So for me, seeing the situation that Juru was in and Juru seeing the situation everybody else was in and making the right decision, it was an epic move. It was an epic move by Juru, and it definitely paid off. So that's probably my favorite part of the episode. There was a ton of stuff in here, but if I had to just bring it down to just one moment, that definitely got me for sure. But other than that, ladies and gentlemen, I think that's probably going to go ahead and do it for us here today in regards to our breakdown for Kiramager episode number 18. So thank you very much, ladies and gentlemen, for certainly joining us. We clearly will be back next week, don't worry, with another breakdown for Kiramager for you. And then, of course, if you want to go ahead and join us this upcoming Saturday, we're going to have a brand new episode of A+ Morphinominal Saturday at noon live Central Time, guys, while we go ahead and break down all the news from Power Rangers and Super Sentai. We'll see how much news is available, though. Some weeks are slower than others, so we'll definitely try and see what we can go ahead and gather for you guys for sure. But let me see, what else do we got this week? We got a season finale for Stargirl that's going to be dropping tomorrow. Me and Stuart will be doing the Stargirl finale review, so definitely go ahead and stay tuned for that. And then we got our Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. review later on this week that will be coming to you guys from Indy as well, so definitely look out for that. But until next time, ladies and gentlemen, that'll do it for us here. If you want to go ahead and follow us on social media, you can certainly go ahead and do so at A+ Opinions. We're on Twitch, Twitter, Instagram, and here on Facebook. And of course, guys, do me a big favor. Take care of yourselves, take care of each other, and keep it A+. And we'll talk to you later. Karamake change!